the gospel of blood and lies. Sage's breath tore from her lungs in ragged gasps, slicing through the oppressive silence of the cell. Her eyes flew open, wide and wild, as if her nightmares had clawed their way into waking life. The echoes of her dreams still lingered, a sickening imprint of Pilatus's eyes, those cold, luminous pools of blue that devoured her sanity inch by inch. In her mind, she felt his fangs sinking into her throat, not just draining her blood, but siphoning her very essence, feeding on her fears, her will, her soul. Her pulse hammered against her temples. The air in the cell was thick, stagnant, suffocating. Shadows crawled across the stone walls, stretching long fingers toward her, whispering echoes of her darkest thoughts. The cracked stone was as cold as a grave, and the damp chill seeped through the thin fabric of her socks, gnawing at her bones.
Get up.
Her body begged to stay where it was, curled, protected, hiding from the nightmare that had long since bled into her waking hours. But Sage Steele had never been one to cower, and she wouldn't start now. Her fingers dug into her palms, nails biting deep, grounding her as pain replaced the numbness. She welcomed it. Pain meant she was still alive. Pain meant Pilatus hadn't won.
Not yet.
Her breath steadied, though her heart still pounded with the force of a war drum. Rising to her feet, she moved toward the battered desk that stood like a lone sentinel in the cramped space. The desk was more than furniture. It was her altar, her weapon, her battlefield. The laptop's glow was an eerie beacon in the darkness, illuminating the scraps of paper scattered like fallen soldiers across the surface. Stubs of pencils, worn down from relentless scribbling, lay like spent bullets. This was where she fought. And tonight, she would strike. Sage's fingers brushed the keyboard, her touch reverent, as if invoking a divine force. The words she was about to type would change everything, not just for her, but for humanity itself. She closed her eyes for a moment, drawing in a breath that carried the scent of damp stone and desperation. Her thoughts sharpened, her resolve hardening into steel.
Let them try to silence this.
Her fingers flew across the keys, the tap-tap-tap echoing like distant gunfire. Her manifesto unfolded, each word a dagger plunged into the heart of Pilatus's empire.
The gospel of blood and lies. By the Wraith. Once, in a time before the Crimson Reign, 3 men of influence and power conspired against the divine: Pilatus, Ananos, and Herod Antipas. Their names would echo through history, wrapped in deceit, wicked acts, and ultimately veiled by time. In their time, they were men of stature, trusted by their people, yet an insatiable thirst for dominion blackened their hearts. Their hunger was not for mortal riches, but for something far greater and far more sinister. And in pursuit of quenching this evil craving, they committed a monstrous sacrilege. They did not merely crucify the Son of God, they consumed him. In the dead of night, under a sky thick with the weight of betrayal, they gathered around a table not of communion, but of corruption. Silver and gold adorned the space, mocking the purity of what lay before them: Jesus Christ himself, his dead body bound and broken. His blood seeped into the wood of the table, a silent witness to the greatest atrocity ever conceived. Pilatus, was the first to act. His dagger, forged not from steel but from treachery, pierced holy flesh with a precision born of malice. Ananos and Herod followed, their hands eager to partake in the sacrilege that would grant them immortality. It was not bread they broke that night, it was the flesh of the divine. With each unholy bite, they damned themselves, their souls twisted and warped by the sin they had embraced. Their bodies rejected death, but their humanity was consumed in the process. What emerged was not gods, but monsters, vampires. Pilatus, the architect of this blasphemous pact, rose first, his eyes no longer reflecting the mercy of a ruler, but the predatory hunger of a beast. His skin, once kissed by the sun, grew cold and unyielding. Stolen divinity surged through his veins, tainted by his own wickedness. Herod and Ananos followed, bound by their shared transgression. Together, they became the progenitors of a new race. They are not divine, not immortal, but abominations masquerading as immortals. And thus began the Crimson Reign, an empire built on evil actions, sustained by blood, and maintained through generations of deception. The lie that shaped the world. Pilatus would have you believe vampires are a superior species, beings chosen to inherit the earth, to rule over and guide humans, chosen to live forever. But the truth is far more grotesque. They are not gods. They are not immortal. They are not even evolution. They are thieves. They stole their power from the Son of God, and they have spent centuries weaving lies to conceal their origins. Pilatus manipulates scripture, twisting the sacred to justify the profane. He has reshaped faith itself into a weapon, subjugating both humans and vampires alike under the yoke of his false divinity. But lies can only hold for so long. The time for reckoning is now. Pilatus, Herod, and Ananos have ruled unchecked for too long. Their empire thrives on silence, on fear, on the belief that resistance is futile. They have carved the lands of the earth between them and enslaved us all. In truth, they are murderers, cannibals, and blasphemers. I, the Wraith, tell you this: the truth has power, and truth will burn their empire to ash. They fear the truth because it is the only weapon that can destroy them. The truth is more excruciating than any stake, sharper than any blade. It cuts through the illusion they have built and lays bare the rot beneath. And now that truth is in your hands. You have two choices: bare your throat to the butcher's knife, or take your freedom back, rise, resist, reclaim what was stolen. God will bring his children together to cast down these false gods. He will breathe fire into the hearts of those who believe, and that fire will consume the empire of darkness.
Sage's fingers paused, hovering over the keys, her chest heaving with the weight of what she had just composed. The words burned on the screen, a beacon in the abyss of Pilatus's reign. Her pulse pounded in her ears, the intensity of the moment pressing down on her. She had not merely written a manifesto, she had declared war. But had she? The truth was, a shadow war had been ongoing for more than a decade, with much of humanity just accepting what the vampires had told them, and only a few fighting back against them. No, she was bringing a reckoning of light and truth. The air in the cell was charged now, thick with an energy that hummed in her bones. For a moment, she allowed herself to lean back, to take in the magnitude of what she was doing. Many humans were convinced that the elite vampires could not be killed. She knew different. They could all be killed. With the truth in the open, the fight would no longer be confined to the shadows. It would begin. A distant echo of Praetorian footsteps reached her ears, growing louder, heavier. Sage's heart pounded, but her resolve did not waver. Her words would be set loose into the world, and soon they would strike like lightning, igniting a blaze that would consume everything Pilatus had built. Sage's fingers hovered above the keyboard, trembling with a cocktail of exhaustion and adrenaline. The glow of the screen cast an eerie pallor over her face, highlighting the sharp lines of tension etched into her features. Her breaths came in shallow, controlled measures, but her heart pounded like a war drum in her chest. This moment, this keystroke, would change everything. The laptop hummed softly, a mechanical heartbeat in the otherwise suffocating silence of her cell. The faint glow of the screen was the only light in the dim space, flickering like a dying star, as if the machine itself sensed the magnitude of the task it was about to undertake. Her pulse echoed in her ears as she typed, each keystroke a whisper that echoed through the tomb-like stillness of her prison. Accessing darknet channels, establishing secure uplink, encrypting message. The dark web, a shadow realm that pulsed beneath the surface of the internet, came alive before her eyes. Lines of code unfolded across the screen like veins spreading through the body of a sleeping beast. She navigated the intricate pathways with ease, her fingers dancing across the keys as if guided by instinct. Each line of code was a step deeper into forbidden territory, a descent into the abyss, where secrecy and rebellion thrived. Sage's eyes narrowed, her focus unrelenting as she worked her way toward the contact who had been her unseen lifeline. Fang Hater, her ally, her accomplice. The phantom who lurked in the digital shadows, feeding her bits of crucial information, helping her spread seeds of insurrection. She had never met him, or her, but trust in this faceless ally had been forged through coded messages and a shared hatred for Pilatus's regime. Whoever they were, they had the means to amplify her voice, to carry her manifesto across continents and through encrypted channels where no vampire surveillance could follow. Connected to Fang Hater, protocol ready. Her fingers hesitated for the briefest of moments, hovering above the keys. Doubt, insidious and cold, whispered from the corners of her mind.
What if they track it? What if Fang Hater has been compromised? What if this is the moment Pilatus has been waiting for?
But Sage shoved those thoughts aside. There was no turning back now. The truth needed to be unleashed, even if the cost was her life. Her jaw clenched as her fingers typed the ultimate words. Start dissemination protocol. The phrase was clinical, but its meaning was far more profound. It was a declaration of war. With one final keystroke, Sage unleashed her narrative into the ether. Her words, infused with the weight of centuries of deceit, slipped through the cracks of the digital realm like a serpent in the grass, unseen, unheard, but deadly. Uploading. Data packet dispersed. Status. Active. The message fragmented and multiplied, scattering across countless servers and relays, its encrypted tendrils spreading like a virus through the veins of the internet. Even Pilatus's vast network of surveillance couldn't stop it now. Sage exhaled, her breath shaky, her body thrumming with a mixture of relief and dread.
It's out.
Her manifesto was no longer just words on a screen. It was a spark that would ignite a wildfire. It would spread like an uncontrollable blaze through the digital underworld, reaching eyes that had long been blind and ears that had forgotten how to listen. Fang Hater would see to that. Closer than she realized, in a damp stone room beneath the ruins of a once bustling city, a lone figure hunched over a cluster of monitors, the glow of the screens illuminating a face half hidden by the shadows of a tattered hood. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee, cigarettes, and burned circuits, a claustrophobic blend that mirrored the tension crackling in the atmosphere. A notification blinked on the center screen. Message received. The figure's lips curled into a satisfied grin as gloved fingers flew over the keyboard, eyes scanning the encrypted message. Lines of code unraveled like an ancient scroll, revealing the manifesto Sage had crafted with her blood, sweat, and unyielding defiance.
She did it. She finally realized the truth.
Fang Hater's gaze darkened as the manifesto loaded. Line by line, the gospel of blood and lies. For a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath. The words burned across the screen, each sentence a blade poised to slice through the heart of the Crimson Empire. As the weight of Sage's revelation settled in Fang Hater's mind, something shifted. A chill ran down their spine, one not born of fear but of realization. Pilatus would feel this. He wouldn't just read these words, he would feel them, deep in the marrow of his immortal bones, where his cursed soul was chained to the crime that birthed his existence. He would sense this disturbance. His instincts, honed over millennia, would recoil at the power of truth unleashed. For Pilatus, this wasn't merely a threat. It was prophecy. The ancient predator within him would recognize that his empire had been pierced by a weapon he could not control. Not steel, not fire, but something far more dangerous. Faith. Fang Hater's lips pressed into a grim line, their pulse quickening with anticipation. They had witnessed revolutions sparked by anger, by desperation. But this was something different. This was a war fueled by belief, by the righteous fury of the oppressed. Pilatus had built his empire on the bones of the divine, and now that foundation was fracturing.
Damn, Sage.
The deep voice murmured softly, almost reverently.
You just declared a holy war.
Without hesitation, Fang Hater started the dissemination protocol, setting the wheels in motion. Automated scripts spread the message to encrypted forums, private networks, and shadowed corners of the internet where rebels, dissidents, and those who had suffered under the Crimson Empire would find it. Protocol engaged. Dissemination across 300 plus nodes. Estimated worldwide spread 72 hours. The message was no longer confined to Sage's cell and Fang Hater's server. It was free now, an unstoppable force surging through cyberspace, carried by the digital winds to every corner where rebellion simmered just beneath the surface. As the protocols executed flawlessly, Fang Hater leaned back, the faint glow of the monitors reflecting off the edge of a wicked grin.
Let's light this match,
They whispered, their voice laced with grim determination. And somewhere they knew that in the farthest recesses of Pilatus's cold, undead heart, the first ember of dread began to smolder. Sage stared blankly at the blinking cursor on the screen, her pulse gradually slowing but her mind racing. The air in her cell was heavier now, charged with the weight of what she had done. Her body sagged, exhaustion clawing at her bones, but she refused to let herself succumb to it. Not yet. The faint echo of footsteps reverberated down the corridor, measured, unhurried, but with a weight that spoke of authority. Victor. Sage's jaw clenched. She knew that sound, knew the man who walked those halls like a reaper in waiting. Pilatus's enforcer, his shadow.
Time's up,
She whispered to herself, her voice barely audible in the oppressive stillness. She closed her eyes for a moment, steeling herself. The first blow had been struck. Now, let the Empire burn. As the footsteps grew louder, Sage's lips curled into the faintest defiant smile. Let him come. As the footsteps stopped outside her cell, Sage whispered to the darkness.
Let them come. Let them choke on the truth.
The real war had already begun, and this time, truth would not die. This story is still unfolding, so subscribe and follow the pulse of the night. New chapters rise soon, and those who are bound to this channel will hear them the moment they awaken.